Hi, I wish I had a better way to do this, but I don't. And I'm really uncomfortable being on video, so I'm gonna keep this real short. My name is Janet, and I'm scheduled right now to have the vertical sleeve gastrectomy, whatever. I should really know the words better if I'm going to have the surgery, huh? Anyway, I'm scheduled to have that on February 18th. This Friday, I'm supposed to have an endoscopy, upper endoscopy, camera down the throat. Ooh, that ought to be fun. I have this major gag reflex, and I'm afraid of dying on the table while sedated. But assuming that I don't get the strep infection that my son Charlie has, then I'm going to go ahead and have that on Friday. Sorry, I had to shut my bathroom door. I couldn't stand having that open in front of me. Anyway, when I started out, okay, let me back up. Vertical sleeve was not something that I decided that I wanted to have done. I went to my surgeon, okay, well, I'm going to back up even further than that. In September of 2013, I had my first attack of diverticulitis. And then I had one and that put me in the hospital for about 4 days. Then I had one in November, and then I had one in January, and I had one in the end of May. So the nice thing about diverticulitis is if you have more than 3 attacks in 1 year, you automatically get a colon resection. And that's exactly what it sounds like. They take whatever portion of your colon is diseased and they cut it out. If they can reattach it together, if you're not having an episode at the time, they try and reattach it together. And if that goes okay, then you end up just having like 6 to 8 weeks of recovery from this colon surgery. If there's any infection present and they can't reattach it, then they have to port it through your skin in your lower abdomen, you know, like really low, like just above the pubic area. Not cool. So anyway, I'd had 4 episodes, and I went to see my new gastroenterologist, and he suggested that I talk with a surgeon who was going to just kind of reassure me about the surgery and how it wouldn't be that scary. Okay, Dr. Watson was his name. And I went to see Dr. Watson, and it was tough because he said that he felt that my attacks were relatively minor and that I hadn't perforated yet. And I hadn't had any abscesses, although I think I did have an abscess with the first one. But he said from looking at my colonoscopy and my CAT scans that he thought that a better choice for me rather than the colon resection right now would be that I lose about 100 pounds, because he said he used words like Herculean effort, as in it would be a Herculean effort if they had to port my lower intestine through my abdomen to do an ostomy, should I need a colostomy. He said that his team would be exhausted by working on me. It was really hard to take in. So he told me about the gastric sleeve surgery, which he doesn't do, so I don't think he was selling it, although, you know, who knows. I came home and I called my sister, who is also a surgeon, and I talked to her and I asked her what she thought, and she said, surprisingly, I mean, she's very conservative, and she said that she thought that it would be a good idea. I'm thinking, wow, am I that much worse than I really think I am? Because in my mind, okay, here's all the bad news here, but in my mind, I don't see myself as huge as apparently everybody else does. So I made the appointment to go to an introductory meeting at Magee Women's Hospital here in Pittsburgh. And I kind of sweated over that, but I went to that appointment, and they said all of the things that needed to be done. Hey, look, see my nails? Oh, I can see them on the camera. It's kind of cool. Just did those for myself because I was bored. Anyway, so I went to the introductory meeting, and then I got this laundry list of things that I would have to do prior to having the surgery, and I thought about it for, well, I guess a short period of time, and I started out doing the things one by one. The further that I got with this, the more I started thinking as I progressed to doing the 5-month insurance required diet, and I was doing, at first it was really tough, but then I've been doing okay on it for about 8 weeks, and thinking, if I'm doing okay and losing about 5 pounds a month, geez, maybe I can do this on my own. But the whole thing is I still have the diverticulitis, which is like potholes in the colon, and one microperforation in that, and I'm going to end up with a colostomy bag for probably 6 months. So time is of the essence. And I'm already going to have to be waiting for this surgery for some time before it's actually going to be paid for by my insurance company, which is UPMC. So I was saying, couldn't I just do this on my own? But if you take 5 pounds and divide that by the number of pounds that I have to lose, which is approximately 100, that's 20 months. So, you know, a good amount of time, longer than a year and a half. Do I have that much time before I have another episode? Let me be clear that a microperforation could kill me. You know, it's shit that goes straight into the peritoneum. So, not cool. With the endoscopy, it's possible that I could be not eligible for the gastric sleeve surgery if I have a hiatal hernia that is too large, and I already know that I have one. I've been told that in the past, and I've been on Nexium for like forever. So if I have a hiatal hernia that's too big that they couldn't fix, then I wouldn't be able to do the gastric sleeve. I'd have to do the gastric bypass, which I really don't want to have to do. I already have a situation brewing in my intestines from having my gallbladder out in 2007, and my food passes through me really fast, and it's not cool. I know it's way too much information, but taking out some of the small intestine would just probably make that worse. But, you know, I'm already living with that. There's a lot of foods that I can't eat now. My list of foods that I can eat is very, very short. Also, if they find that I have Barrett's esophagus, I would not be a candidate for it. And since I've had heartburn for so long, it's possible. But many of the symptoms that are typical for Barrett's esophagus I don't have. So if I did have it, it would be probably really minor. So I'm going to try and be brave and go through this endoscopy. I've done a lot of the other testing without a problem, but this one is really, really tough for me. The reason that it's tough is because my mom and my dad both died of cancers that are very digestively linked. My dad's was definitely a digestive cancer. He had pancreatic cancer. And my mother had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but she also had a lot of stomach problems too. And although non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is not a digestive cancer, it has a lot to do with body mass and things like that. And she had ulcers and bleeding ulcers, and she probably had a lot of the same problems that I had. And she had to have a lot of endoscopies. Now, she's been dead for 20 years. She died when I was 29. I'm going to be 50 on November 29th. So I've been without my mom for 20 years. But before she died, she must have had at least 4 or 5 endoscopies. She used to call it swallowing the bicycle chain. It's making my eye twitch. I don't know if you can see that. My eye is just twitching. It does it every time I get nervous. It's been doing it a lot the last 2 weeks. And she had to do them conscious, no sedation. She would have to actually swallow to get the camera to pass. And she would get so geared up and scared about it that we were all scared, or at least I was really scared. You know, I was the littlest one of 5 kids. And I remember this very, very vividly. So having one for the first time is really scary to me. And the whole Joan Rivers thing. I know that there was a lot of stuff, and I'm not 86 years old or however old she was, but sometimes people die doing this. And I have a lot to live for. I have 6 children. One is, my oldest is going to be 32 this year on my birthday. And then I have 2 boys that are in their late 20s. And then I have a 16-year-old son, a 14-year-old son who has, let's call it, moderately severe autism, the classic kind, not the Asperger's where they're kind of quirky, but the kind where the kids are really highly impacted. Let's see. And then my daughter is 10, so I have 2 girls and 4 boys. I have a lot to live for. There are a lot of things that I can't do right now. Crossing my legs, can't do that. Take a shower, you know, and dry off with a towel. I swim every day, or almost every day. I haven't swam today because my son has been sick. But when I go swimming and I take a shower afterwards, because of the whole body shape thing, I can't get the area between the lower belly part and my pelvic area clean, not clean, but dry. I met with a lady at the support group at my hospital for bariatric surgery, and she said that everybody just sticks a sock in there. That's what they all do, you know, between the belly and the lower abdomen. I can ride the go-karts with my kids, but just barely. Just barely. I'm like a quarter of an inch away from not being able to buckle. Gotta really suck it in tight, and the attendants look at me like, oh man, we're gonna have to pry this one out with a shoehorn. I started this out. I started trying to lose weight about 2 years ago when I got on the scale at the YMCA and weighed 292. At my tallest, I was 5'11". Right now, I'm 5'7" and a smidge. So I've lost most of the weight because if you think, well, most of the height, I'm sorry, in my back. And if you think about the spine, you know, which is got a little bit of curve to it, the heavier you are with the belly, the more the spine curves, and, you know, the smaller you get disc compression and stuff like that. So my issues that I'm trying to resolve through the surgery are the diverticulitis, first off. Because once I lose 100 pounds, then I can have the surgery to have that remediated. Some people say it even goes away. I'm not really hopeful about that because the uptick in protein that I would have to take could aggravate the diverticulitis. Every time I've had to do high protein, I've had problems. So I'll probably have to do everything humanly possible to avoid getting constipated between the time that I have the surgery and the time that I have the bowel resection, because constipation is a kiss of death, and that's drinking a lot of fluids and being very careful to, you know, at least get some fiber. My screen here keeps going on and off. I'm not being abducted by aliens, even though now my face looks blue. So remediating the diverticulitis is really important to me. Being able to play with my kids. Being able to look in the mirror and not want to cry or throw up, you know, this, yeah. Don't like that very much anymore. So right now, as in my last weigh-in, I weighed 269. When I started with the hospital, I weighed 279. And so I've lost 10 pounds on the insurance mandated diet, 1,400 calories a day. Lots of water, 30 minutes of exercise a day, and I almost always opt to swim. I taught myself how to swim 3 years ago, and I'm a pretty good swimmer. I'm going to take a break here and start this recording up on a second part.